Good morning, students and parents. Today is Monday, June the 15th. And what does that mean? It's the last week of classes. So, because it's the last week of classes, please be sure that you have all of your assignments done. Make sure they're completed and handed in to your teachers. You guys have been working hard, and make sure you get the credit for all of that hard work. Now, also, next week on June the 22nd and 24th, we are doing our resource drop off. That's things like textbooks, Chromebooks, band instruments, music, things of that nature. So please be sure that you come to the school between 9 and 3 on either the 22nd or the 24th. That's the Monday or the Wednesday to drop off any materials that you've been using over these last few months for your schoolwork. Now, another exciting thing we've got going on next week is our drive-in graduation ceremony. That's taking place on Tuesday, June the 23rd. So we're so looking forward to honoring all of our grads. Now, due to COVID restrictions, we are going to have to park all of our vehicles 6 feet away. Now, that means the viewing area for the parking lot will only accommodate about 100 vehicles. So each graduating family will be restricted to one vehicle. And unfortunately, that means that if you don't have a child who's graduating, you won't be able to attend. But there's good news. We are live streaming our grad at scalive.ca. So scalive.ca. You can watch it from the comfort of your home. And also make sure to drive by and view the church sign during the week of graduation, as all of our graduates' photos will be displayed on the sign. So that's pretty cool. And remember, most importantly, be praying for our grads on their special day and into the future. Our grads, they face an uncertain future, but we know that they're equipped, and God has got them in the palm of their hand and is going to take care of them, and they're just going to flourish after they leave SCA. So, Mr. Maxwell, let me throw it over to you.
Thanks, Mr. Matheson. A couple of special guests today, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I want to introduce to you in a moment, or right now, Harnarayan Singh, and he is the host and play-by-play commentator for Hockey Night in Canada. He's really, really famous, but he's a nice guy as well. He's actually the first person, as far as I understand, to call games, NHL games, in Punjabi. I just think that's awesome. Hey, Mark Connolly, you would have heard his name, host on CBC Radio Morning Show right now, veteran sportscaster of many years. So we're glad to have you guys. Hey, Harnarayan, we're going to fire it over you right away, and just tell us who you are, what you do, and then Mark will go.
Thanks very much, Jordy. Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm a play-by-play commentator with Hockey Night in Canada, and I'm also a host with Sportsnet, and I do some work with Heroes Hockey Charity, Chevrolet Good Deeds Cup. So number of different things in the hockey world, and thrilled to be a part of it. Is my dream since I was a kid. I was actually born in Wetaskiwin, so that's kind of my geographical connection to Edmonton, but yeah, living the dream, being a part of the hockey broadcasting world, and very grateful to have had this opportunity to be doing this.
Mark.
Hi, Mark Connolly here. I'm the host of Edmonton AM on CBC Radio, and in my spare time, I work for CBC Network Sports as well. And as Jordy mentioned, I've been to 10 Olympic Games, which has been a real treat for me. I used to be a sportscaster for a long time before I took on the full-time radio gig. I grew up here in Edmonton. I've got a brother and a sister who both live in the neighborhood, basically about 5 blocks from your school. So they're out in Sherwood Park, and so I'm driving by there all the time. So next time I go by, I'll give it a wave.
Thanks, guys. Maybe Mark will stay with you. How's it going for you during this pandemic? Personally, your family, like whatever you want to say. How's it been going?
Well, it's been an interesting time. When the pandemic began in March, I was actually down in the U.S. on holiday, and things rapidly changed during the week we were away. And when we came back, we had to isolate and quarantine for 14 days. And then I went back into the studio to work. However, almost all of my coworkers were gone from our location in downtown Edmonton. And about 2 weeks after that, they sent me home, and I broadcast for about 6 weeks from my basement, doing the morning show from there. So it was a rather unusual arrangement, but I got to sleep in till 4:30 every day instead of getting up at 4. So that was a nice part. It's been interesting. My wife, she works from home as well. She's actually a teacher of voice, so she teaches people public speaking, and so she's had to reposition her business as well. Lots of people canceled, workshops where she would have went into the business. Instead, she's doing it like this, video. So that's been kind of an interesting switch for her as well. I mean, I guess the biggest thing too is we have a son in Calgary who goes to university there. Another son in Edmonton who's now working from home. For the first few weeks, we didn't see anybody. And then gradually we've kind of expanded our bubble a little bit to include our son from Edmonton. So we've been seeing a small group of people. We've done a lot of ordering in. We're trying to support local businesses that way, and doing a lot of this as well, doing a lot of Zoom calls with friends from across the country, and just to see how people are coping. It's been an interesting time, to say the least.
Hunter Rayan, how about for you?
Yeah, so for me, similarly to Mark, I was out of town, and in March, right before everything kind of for Corona kicked into high gear, and I was actually in India on a music gig because I play the East Indian drums called the tabla, and another instrument called the harmonium, which is it's like a handheld organ. I guess you could say that's the best correlation that I can think of right now off the top of my head, or turban. But so I was in India and was totally oblivious as to that borders were going to close, and my family was my wife and my parents and my sisters were all up in arms saying, "You got to come home, you got to come home." And I paid basically triple, quadruple the price of my ticket to India to just come back. And luckily I did, though, because I would have been stuck there, who knows till when. And when I got back, I did the 14-day quarantine as well. And, for us in the hockey world, we are so much looking forward to this time of year where when the coronavirus kind of kicked into high gear, it was around the time when we would have been gearing up for the playoffs. And so that's my favorite time of the year. And I noticed actually the first month, because of the fact that I travel a lot, averaging about 75 to 80 flights a year for hockey broadcasting, the first month was actually quite enjoyable. I spent a lot more time with my kids who are 4 and 2 years old, and my family, and we were able to connect in a way that we hadn't been able to in so long. And so I enjoyed that time. I think for the first month, we were all kind of loving it. And then we got a bit stir crazy after that. And so luckily the weather's been better and we've been able to kind of go out. But similar to some of your students and parents who are watching and listening, we also visit the Gurdwara, the Sikh temple, on a weekly basis. And it was tough for us to we were all missing that component too. And so there's been pros and cons, but it's good to see everything kind of getting back to normal. And looks like hockey will be coming back soon too. So what I think I've learned from all of this is just to be grateful for what we have, because things can change really quickly. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, thanks for that. We, as we're kind of gearing up for the summer, when this tape airs on Monday, there'll be 4 school days left. So I'm sure the kids are quite excited. And it wouldn't be no secret. Not only in our school, but in the greater world, we've had people that have navigated this quite well. And I can certainly speak for our family and our 3 teenage boys that it's been a hoot. We've had a great time together, a couple of extra holes in the wall in the basement, but that's beside the point. And but I know not everybody's had a good go with this, not just economically, which is huge, but obviously mentally as well. So maybe let's just finish our interview a little bit. Mark, you can go first if you would. Just kind of like an Uncle Mark, like what have you seen? What advice would you give as our kids and our families are heading into the summer, if you would?
Well, in my job, I'm lucky enough to talk to a lot of different people from different walks of life every day who are involved in various things in our city and surrounding area. And I've talked to a lot of mental health professionals about how to deal with what people are going through right now. It's, the word unprecedented has been used many times, and certainly this is it. It fits. And I think the biggest thing when we talk about mental health, I think, is connections. Stay connected to those folks who've been supporters of yours through your schooling. When I graduated graduated a long time ago. It was actually 42 years ago now. I had a group of guys that I played basketball with. There were 8 of us. And the 8 of us have gone golfing every year together for about 35 years now. And now every week on a Sunday morning, we will get together and we'll do a Zoom call and we'll catch up with everybody and chat. And we find that that support group has really helped us over the years. I mean, we've gone through a lot during that time. So I think, you know, during this time when you're kind of leaving school, you're making a transition and you're not quite sure what's going to happen next. Where am I going to go? And what am I going to do? You should know that most people don't know. I didn't know. I got a job in a car wash when I got out of high school. And then I drove a truck before I decided, gee, I better go back to school. And I went back to NAIT and took radio and TV and went into radio. But it's not unusual not to know where your life is going to take you. I mean, you're so young, it's going to take you in all kinds of different directions. There's going to be a lot of great things, but there's going to be a lot of challenges. So I would say just keep those folks who are close to you, you know, hold tight and keep in touch. And I think that that great support system is there. And of course, your family as well, your parents, your brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, whoever it is that gives you support, stick close to them. And I think that'll help you as you navigate this future.
That was good words. Harnarayan, how about for you?
Yeah, for me, and yeah, Mark, you spoke really well. I loved what you had to say. I just think that there's really been a sentiment out there. You know, I've felt it personally, but I know a lot of people in society are just waiting for things to get back to normal. But when I reflected on that, I'm actually kind of, I'm hoping things don't totally go back for everyone to as they were before, because I think what we've learned from going through this is it's kind of nice to slow down. And I think with the technology that we have, you know, there's almost no moment in a day when we're not without our phones or looking what everyone else is doing in the world. And I think this has kind of given us that opportunity that, hey, we're not so busy. Let's spend some time together. Like the things that people used to do as families decades ago, it seems like we had kind of gotten back to that now because of this pandemic. And obviously there's a lot of people who, as you mentioned, Jordy, who are going through financial difficulties because of the economic impact, or a lot of people are having health issues, and those are the priorities. But for those of us families who are grateful or are fortunate enough to kind of have gotten through this okay, what I would say to students and parents is, let's really make sure whatever we learned from this pandemic in terms of slowing down, let's try to implement that in our lives going forward too, when things do go back to normal. And it's that same kind of, the same aspect that Mark was talking about is staying connected. I think a way for us to stay connected with our loved ones and with our friends and family is to slow down and make time for each other instead of going the individualistic route of just, you know, this is me on Instagram and hey, I think that is really something that as students I would say to you is maybe don't worry so much about what other people think of you, and maybe take out more time in your day to spend time with your loved ones, and because the time that you're going through in your life, you're never going to get that back, and it's important to not take things for granted. And so that's what I would say is, as you get older, you always think back to certain phases of your life and call them the good old days. And so try to make sure you take advantage of those as much as possible in a positive way to connect with your loved ones.
That's so great. So great to hang out with you guys. And I know we're out of time. I just want to say thanks and some pretty powerful words. You know, to some degree, nothing's new under the sun. And what have we heard? Slow down. And, you know, a North American, generally speaking, is going to nod with that at all times. Like it's almost like a badge of honor to say, how's it going? Oh, busy, you know? And yet, honestly, from a, you know, pastoral counseling kind of perspective, Mark, kind of what you said of stay connected, I hear every day I'm lonely, you know, and what am I doing on the planet? And I don't really have a close friend. But I have lots of buddies. We text and we post and yet, no, but I just actually need to actually talk to a human in, you know, real time. And so you're right. Like, what have we learned here? Be thankful, slow down, It's not all bad. It's not all bad. Absolutely. Thanks, guys. I'm really grateful that you were willing to do this. And SCA family, I hope you have a great week, and we will talk to you next week.